Everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to be with you here once again. I am live streaming. We're doing it differently. We're using a different app. So I'm very curious how well this works out. But Andy helped me get it all set up beforehand, and he's going to be standing by, for at least the first part. It looks like Elon Musk is opening this, which is super exciting. But right now it says details not available, which is fantastic. I'm going to refresh and see what happens.
You get it live on Rumble and YouTube?
I don't know. Let's check it out. Let's see where we are. You want to look in there for me? I can only look at one thing at a time. Yeah, let's pull it up. I want to look at the Rumbles. The Rumbles and the local. Oh, that's right. We have two different browsers, and it's very confusing. Okay, so here's YouTube. Hi, YouTube. Awesome. We have Rumble. That's not what I want. There's Rumble, but I don't see if anything's happening. Do, 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 do. Nothing. We are joined by a cat. There we go. Looks like we're live on Rumble too. We are joined by Dip. Is Dot here with us?
No,
I think we just have Dip for now. I am so interested in hearing what DeSantis has to say. I am on the edge of my seat because he is an interesting person. Babe, how do I find the locals thing? It's vanished for me. Andrew.
Huh?
How do I find the locals thing?
The locals thing? Just
Yeah.
go to SourPatchLyds.locals.com.
There you go. I can't find the message though that you sent at 6:55, 5:55.
It's on the newsfeed.
I'm looking at the newsfeed, dear. Yeah, I don't see it. Yeah, don't see it.
We'll go back.
Mm-hmm.
You have it on schedule.
Oh, all posts. Perfect. Okay, yes. And Dip is messing with that door over there, so he'll be accompanying me. Let's see if we've got anything over here on Twitter. Oh my gosh, that's enough. Preparing to launch today at 6 p.m. It's 6:01, Elon. Where are we coming from here? We will see if anybody else drops in and joins us. I have no guarantees. Everybody's pretty busy tonight. I understand, and I didn't ask them until the last minute. Excited to see who shows up. I'm going to be very disappointed and keep a list of everyone who doesn't. I'm just kidding. I know. Everybody's busy. Everybody's got a lot going on. So curious about this launch, Elon. How you want to be tardy? Come on, man. You're running a big company. A couple big companies. I thought this article was super interesting. We know we have well over a year before the election, but I thought this was interesting because my theory to date has been that the media is pushing Trump really hard because they want to win in 2024. And by they, I mean the media, aka the Democratic Party. So that's how I feel like they're shaping it up to be, right? He already went on CNN. People were in Elon Musk's comments asking why he hasn't brought Trump on. Trump's not on Twitter. Trump's not engaging with Elon's platform at all. Like, I don't understand why people would demand that Elon have him on. If he wants to be on Twitter, he could definitely join. Let me see. Joe Biden is in. I think the title of this one was Joe Biden is in search of Donald Trump. Biden thinks that he can run against Trump again successfully. Desperately seeking Donald Trump. I think that was the title of it. Can't spell. Don't judge me. Yes, Biden is desperately seeking Trump. Will the GOP again give Democrats the nominee they covet? This is what worries me, okay? Guys, I just want to win in 2024. And I am afraid that Trump doesn't have what it takes. Because at this point, nobody doesn't have an opinion about Trump, right? We know this. Everybody feels very strongly one way or the other. It's fine. He's just that kind of person. He's very polarizing. He has a strong personality. He can get stuff done, maybe, if he actually goes in and cleans house when it comes to the permanent state, but I'm not convinced he can. I don't know that anybody can, to be honest. That's a really tough challenge. Oh, here I am. You can see my reflection again there. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so let's see what's going on Twitter. Yeah, come on. Let's go. We're late, Elon. Come on, man. Trying to tell people how to run a company. We're live. Oh my gosh. Yay, we're live. Okay, let's listen. Where's my audio? Oh, yeah, we haven't started yet. We got a bunch of people in here. We have all the best people. We have a lot of people weighing in. I'm really curious who. Wow, yeah, 110,000 people listening. That's so interesting. Only the top 1,000 guests can be shown. Might be people listening who aren't logged into Twitter. Ah, okay, cool. Cool. Let's see here. Let's turn on captions so people can read who can't necessarily hear. I'm going to send them a thumbs up. I don't care who sees it. It's great. Elon Musk is running late, dear. He's later than we are. Amazing.
You're going to play audio?
No, there is no audio.
What do you mean? Oh, there's no
There
audio.
is no audio. Ready to launch. Yeah, we got nothing. Let me shrink this up a little bit. Eva Vlardingerbroek. I love her. She's a beautiful lady. Will Witt's fiance. Lovely lady from the Netherlands. We got Jay Bhattacharya, Bill Belugan, Alex, Jen Ellis. I can't pronounce anything tonight. My apologies. Buck Sexton. We have Ron, who's a speaker. Awesome. Me, David Sachs, not super familiar. Carol Roth, love her. Andrew Gruel. I love all these people. A lot of these people we've had on, which is fun. Vince Dow.
The Riverside?
The Riverside? Yep, it's working fine. What do you want me to watch, babe?
Oh, just if people pop in because they're in the waiting room.
Oh, yeah, that's right. How do I let him in? Let's go learn about the waiting room. Do we have anyone in the waiting room? We have a person. Oh, no, it's just me. Okay, there we go. I'm confusing myself. Andy typed it in Ron DeSantis presidential announcement. I actually was looking it up and I was intrigued to learn that DeSantis is actually how it was initially pronounced, I think, or spelled or something. Kind of interesting. So I don't know. Who knows? Trump thinks it's an insult. I don't really. I think it's pretty close to the way it's supposed to be. All right, we lost our space. Okay, we're going to listen live. Let's see if we can hear anything. Still preparing to launch. I am disappointed. Come on, man. Tardiness does not become us. Well, I guess it does if that's how they make it. I guess if that works, it works. I know that a large portion of my audience are really, really big Trump fans, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, I just want to win, you know? I have a really hard time thinking about going into I don't want to let this guy in as an admin. Oh, we'll admit him. There we go.
Hey, Lydia, how's it going?
Good. How about you?
I'm good.
Awesome.
You guys streaming tonight?
We are streaming. We are on right now, actually, for an honorary guest. We're just waiting for the room to open. Yeah. I just threw you in.
Awesome.
Sorry to put you on the spot. We're still preparing to launch, so we don't actually have anything.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was just trying to log out of Twitter on the Macs. It's like impossible.
I know.
Impossible. But yeah, I think Elon's thing's going live right now. Elon DeSantis.
He's the man.
All right.
What do you think? Do you think that's a good move for DeSantis?
I definitely do think so.
Yeah.
We want to welcome you to
They're actually going live right now. Let's listen in.
Oh, okay, cool.
media. Tonight, we've done more to loosen the.
How many people are watching?
Something like 111,000. Sorry, I had it and then I lost it. I don't know what's going on. I think Space is overwhelmed. I think this is
Oh
a
yeah,
great idea, by the
yeah.
way.
Oh yeah.
Great idea, but it's going to be hard to see if it can actually work.
Oh yeah, I think they've had one. It was like 2 million. I think it was like one of their bigger ones. That's what I kind of predicted too. I was like, oh, kind of system overload. I was trying to see if I can find it. The desktop version is terrible always.
All right, they're talking now.
Are you listening?
There's a really bad echo, like really bad.
Yeah.
No, it's not for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. This is kind of a big test for the feature, you know?
I think this might be an issue on their end, but I'm not sure because now it says preparing to launch again.
Is
So I'm
Donald
thinking-
Trump is Donald Trump in there?
No, but he's probably.
He's got his
He's-
alt account in there.
Yeah, he's got his burner. I would believe
Yeah,
it.
burn.
No, you can only see the top 1,000. We got
Okay.
Richard Hanania. We got some of my favorite lefty accounts. We got a bunch of good right wing accounts. A bunch of people who are saying, "I'm just gonna skip, hate DeSantis, Trump forever," and it's like, okay, this is fine. You do whatever you like. I'm just really intrigued. I'm so intrigued by the fact that it's on Spaces, right? Like a presidential announcement in itself isn't that big a deal, but this is really something different. And I love the idea of doing mainstream media. Like Trump's already been on CNN, but doing this on Twitter is something special. So,
Well,
here's Andy.
I agree, but I think one of the things Twitter needs to do, because I don't know, you probably have seen like the Daily Wire's moved all their stuff to Twitter. The player sucks. So like if you're pulling up a video that's like an hour and a half or whatever, like it's really hard to navigate to, you know, through the video.
It's hard. Okay, I hear Elon coughing.
Okay, cool.
So we'll see. I'm gonna plug in my headphones so that we can make sure the echo isn't on my end.
Okay, cool.
And kind of try to troubleshoot this a little bit.
Can
Sorry.
we
So,
introduce who we're
Sean from Mine, Smith Informed. Let's see what we can hear. All right, we are once again preparing to launch. I hear something. Sound housekeeping.
Oh, the Twitter space, yeah, the weird formality of Twitter spaces that I think is weird. Yeah.
Are you able to hear it, Sean?
No, it's okay. I'm trying to pull it up on the desktop.
You should be able to listen without logging into Twitter. I can send you the link. Hold on. Send it
Okay,
your
cool.
way. If I can, I'm going to send it to the chat. Okay, so yeah, they are having so much trouble, and I hear a frustrated Elon Musk, which is kind of cracking me up because 420,000 other listeners, which is great. I think it's amazing, and I'm really excited for the future with this possibility. Okay, I'm going to send this to the chat here, Sean. It's going to be in your right-hand corner.
Okay, great.
A little chat bubble. It'll be to everyone. It's a Twitter Spaces link. That way you'll be able to hear.
Let me see the oversized settings.
I am loving listening to Elon Musk talk through this. This is cracking me up so hard. The echo's on their end, I think, babe. They're having more trouble than we ever have, which is it's really funny.
Oh yeah.
That's making me laugh. I'm sorry, I can't help it. I've just put up with all of my own like tech difficulties over on Timcast. It was the same way. We'd always have this stuff come up, and I'm like, it's good to know that everyone's human.
Every time it's something different too, and if you've never tried it, it's like
I know, right? It's exciting.
I know.
But yeah, if they can make this pause halfway through, like talking.
Sure.
Okay, we're kind of listening. Elon's talking to himself. Can you hear it, Sean?
I can't, but it's okay. I'm watching the captions.
Okay. Is this aliens? That sounded like aliens. It was alien music. What is happening? Okay, we have almost 500,000 people listening. We're crashing Twitter. I'm loving it. Let me move out of.
Who is Adolf Hitler?
I don't know.
That's who
I have
comes
no
up. It says
idea.
Klaus Schwab.
What is happening?
Klaus Schwab is in there. The FBI is as speaker. Oh, okay.
They're sneakier than that. I don't think that's actually the FBI.
Oh, this is someone's pranking.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm curious about the music though. Now I have a
Like,
lot of
oh, that's
questions.
that's actually a funny meme.
I hear something.
Klaus Schwab in there. That's
Silence. Yeah, because Elon Musk was talking smack about George Soros. We're showing everybody that now. There we go. Preparing to launch. Okay, let's see. The number is up to, last I saw, 499,000. Amazing. Amazing. This is going to be any cable channel. I think cable networks are done after this. Okay, we're up to 530,000 other listeners. We're just going to keep an eye on the number of listeners because I am like, wow, this is a lot more than I anticipated. I saw a lot of Trump fans who were like, it's not even going to be a blip on the radar. And I was like, I think you might be wrong.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because I think, I agree it could be big, but they still have a monetization problem. So, like,
right. They have
if
plenty
you
of
are,
issues.
yeah, if you're asking people to move a bunch of content over, and you're not paying them, it makes it a little difficult,
Right.
So that's the only thing. Like the subscribe thing is interesting. We'll see if that takes off. But like obviously they're the super follower feature.
Yeah.
That didn't do well at all.
Yeah, they're going to have to kind of retool how they do it, but it's going to be interesting. They're going to come up with something great. And I really think they're going to shift the landscape, which is what's needed. I think Elon Musk is spot on his analysis about what's needed to save the world, save democracy, whatever his byline is there, and make sure that we can have these conversations.
Yeah, I think Tucker's going to be a good use case to kind of see how many people he's bringing in regularly.
Right. That's going to be a lot of fun, too. I'd forgotten about that. I think that's going to be neat.
Yeah.
We're still preparing to launch. I don't hear Elon Musk doing housekeeping stuff anymore. We'll see. We're up to 586,000 listeners. I'm going to... There's not a whole lot I can do here. I just thought that New York Post article was so interesting because that's basically in line with what I was thinking. And I wanted to check out where they were getting that data from, that Trump's doing really well in the primary. Like Republicans really like him, but polls actually show him losing to Biden, which is a really interesting conundrum to be in. And what I'm afraid of, because we're very concerned, right? We're expecting our first kid and we're like looking at the state of the world and we're like, okay, we need to try and make sure that we're making things as good as we can. Okay, Here we go. Here we go. We're listening. Just kidding. He popped in and popped out. This is so
funny because I can't even
You can't even hear it?
I can't even pull it up on the desktop anymore. It's so weird.
We crashed it.
It's like yeah, it's not good. Yeah.
The anticipation is killing me.
The interesting thing is, like, if you're going to look at scoreboard, so you have DeSantis backing Daniel Penny, which was like a huge thing, and then now he's doing this with Elon, which is like two base things.
I think that's so smart.
Yeah, Trump obviously has truth, but
yeah, I hear Elon. Let's listen now. Get.
Just put your mic to the speaker.
Oh, the speaker?
Maybe not the speaker.
Yeah, it's going in through my head.
No one will hear it on the stream.
What? No one's gonna hear it.
Do it this way.
I didn't know.
Is it playing?
See, I don't know if it's them or me anymore. It's hard to tell. Yeah, okay, it's not playing. Okay, yeah, there we go. I think I need to unmute that one though for a future reference.
You need to what?
Unmute this one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'll help. Well, it doesn't matter anyway because we don't have any audio from them. And for once in my life, the tech issues aren't my fault.
Yeah, that's did you guys ever talk about doing like a Twitter Spaces at Timcast?
No, that wasn't a thing then. It really
Uh
wasn't. Yeah. Yeah, it
it's
wasn't. Would have been cool.
like I thought through it, like the logistics behind it. It's not because it's not really great because it's essentially going through your phone. Like your phone is
Right.
the only is the only thing it really works well with. So like to
Right.
actually produce that into a show, it's like it's like what do you do? Put like a phone in the middle of the room? I mean, essentially that's kind of what
Yeah, not quite. It's not exactly streamlined for like a bunch of people using it at the same time. We're up to 600,666 something. You know what I'm trying to say. We're up
Yeah.
to the devil's number, which is very exciting. We need hold music. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it would be nice if we had something to. We should start a poll about whether people think Trump's going to be able to pull it out in 2024. I'm not convinced. I remain unconvinced because I think too many people are so fully entrenched. But I'm just captivated by the idea of making this kind of announcement on places that are not reliant on the mainstream media. Like we saw Trump go on CNN the other day, and people on the left were saying that Caitlin Collins smoked him. People on the right were saying that he smoked Caitlin Collins, and back and forth it went. But this will actually give speakers a chance to be heard, which is 100% what needs to happen.
Yeah.
And really,
Well, I think it's interesting too with the left shutting down the debates. That opens up like a huge potential because you could pull Donald Trump on and whoever DeSantis like that. This the platform is big enough for that.
Yeah. Okay, I think I hear them rustling around in there. Okay, let me close. That was them. Yeah, not me.
Post Millennials putting up some clips. That's cool. So
Good.
for those if they can't access it.
That's perfect. Well, this is saying that 372,000 people tuned in. But that can't be right. This doesn't look like the right recording at all.
Well, but a lot of times what happens with these Twitter Spaces is they just stop and then they have to restart. So then the first, you know what I mean? Then the first one is like, it's just so dependent on the phone. It's so weird.
I know, it's wild. Okay, I am going to get it together a little bit here, and we're going to let Matt Palumbo in to join us here.
Cool.
If I can figure out where you guys are. Where's my waiting room? See, I've not worked with a waiting room before, so I'm just kind of winging it. Here's Sean, okay. Andy, people? Where?
I don't see him in there.
Yeah, I don't either. He was saying yo, yo, yo on Twitter. Yeah, but...
Yeah, there's a lot of people saying it's just crashing. It's
Yeah,
just
not
crashing.
surprised.
Yeah.
That's okay. This is very much a test run. I know everyone's excited to hear what DeSantis has to say, or they want to make fun of him or whatever, but
Yeah.
it's gonna be, it is what it is. And I like that Elon Musk is kind of flying by the seat of his pants. I think that's kind of endearing. I think it's kind of personable, as we all kind of are. We all really want freedom of speech, but at this point, we're not entirely sure how it's going to work. So it's going to be something that we need to work on together, which I think is awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's what really makes Twitter exciting is they have like this jackpot random thing, which is Elon Musk. Like if he comes in and like comments on your tweet or whatever, then it like blows up. None of the other platforms really have that, like that random jackpot that'll happen every once in a while.
Exactly. Yeah, it's kind of hit or miss.
Yeah, no one wants like Zuckerberg comment,
exactly. Exactly. Nobody wants that. Did you see Meta's being forced to pay out like the largest payment of all time because of stuff, something like in the billions of dollars.
And they'll just keep spending it. They're crazy.
I know. They don't care.
I know.
It is huge. They're like, oh, this is unprecedented, but they really don't care. They'll pay it. It's no big deal.
Yeah, I
All
know.
right. Well, I am kind of annoyed that they're not being able to make this work. Now I see why people would get annoyed with me when things didn't work on Timcast. But it's
Isn't it
hard.
funny?
It's
Like
hard, I know.
you'll set something, you'll set like the mic or you'll set whatever, and it didn't change from the day before, but for whatever reason, it's like completely doesn't work.
Totally screwed up. Yep.
It makes zero sense.
It's so mysterious. Very hard to pin down.
Yeah, it's very
All right.
strange.
Let's see if Matt can find his way into the studio. If so, great. Matt is a great source, and he wrote a book about fact-checking fact-checkers, so he's a fantastic news reader and commentator. A lot of fun. He works over at the Bongino Report. Oh, we need to hit the Bongino Report up as well because we have some ideas for them that they might like. Here, something changed over here. Yeah, Matt Palumbo.
Bongino.
Mhm.
Bongino reports. Bongino's. They were behind. They worked with Getter, right?
Getter? Are you guys with Getter? No, you guys are with Rumble, right? Like heavily with Rumble, right, Matt?
Yeah. Are we just live now?
Yeah, yep.
Oh, all right,
You're jumping
cool.
into it.
Jumping in. All right, cool.
Well,
Yeah,
we don't have a Twitter space. We're just
Twitter
kinda,
broke.
Neither just Twitter. So
Yeah.
yeah, what a disaster. This could be anywhere between 10 minutes and like 3 hours of
4 hours, right?
commentary. Yeah.
It's gonna be exciting, whatever happens.
Oh
Let me
man.
show people what I've got right now. It's nothing. So this is David Sachs. He's a fellow blue check, and
Oh,
Ian
he's-
Miles is repeating.
Oh, we can't see Matt.
No, we can't see, which is
You can't
weird.
see. I can't see Sean. I just seen it. So maybe it's.
Oh, yeah,
No,
I'm
yeah,
on-
Sean's invisible. Don't worry
I'm
about
in-
it.
Yeah, I'm on
He's
my
in stealth
phone.
mode.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. So here we have spaces, details not available. So it looks like it's outright down, which is soul crushing. I'm very sad.
Let's check on how Trump's reacting.
Yeah, right. See,
Let's see.
check the meltdowns, Matt. Check over on Truth Social. I am curious.
All right.
He's
so,
already-
Server's down.
do you want me to actually go through them?
Oh, here we go. Hold on one sec. I got to read this. Ron DeSantis tweeted out his official announcement. I'm running for president to lead our great American comeback. So let's listen to this. Hopefully you guys can hear this.
All right.
Our cities, federal government makes it harder for families to make ends meet, and the president flounders. But decline is a choice, success is attainable, and freedom is worth fighting for. Righting the ship requires restoring sanity to our society, normalcy to our communities, and integrity to our institutions. Truth must be our foundation, and common sense can no longer be an uncommon virtue. In Florida, we proved that it can be done. We chose facts over fear, education over indoctrination, law and order over rioting and disorder. We held the line when freedom hung in the balance. We showed that we can and must revitalize America. We need the courage to strength to win. I'm Ron DeSantis, and I'm running for president to lead our great American comeback.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was really good.
Yeah, that's great. I hadn't seen that, so I wanted to get everybody into on the same page. I think that's great. Good for him.
1.6 million views right now.
Yep.
I think, I don't know, does anyone feel this way? Them getting rid of the video views was like the dumbest thing Twitter could have done. I don't know. Have you guys noticed this?
Don't know why they did that.
What
That didn't
happened
make
with the video?
sense to me.
I'm out
What's
of
that?
the loop on. I'm out of the loop on this one. What happened with the video?
So
It
like
just-
on the videos, you can't see the views.
Oh, that's why.
I don't know.
No idea. It wasn't a good choice, I don't think.
It just disappeared and like,
I
yeah,
mean,
no one said
the-
anything.
To be fair, like the original metrics were kind of overstated in that I think they counted a view if you just scrolled past it, so you could go back and forth and it would be multiple.
Right.
So yeah, I
That's
mean,
not
I
right
if
either.
If they could fix that, that would be ideal. But
Yeah, I
no,
guess if they
still
fix
have
that.
it, so.
Yeah. Like TikTok, I mean TikTok, that's their whole model is like blowing up views. Like
Everyone on TikTok has like 1 billion views, and like I have 5.
That's not right.
it's insane.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But it's psychological because they know if we can get people to have a lot of views and they'll keep doing that thing, you know.
Yeah. No, it works.
Yeah.
I've been reading Trump's Truth Social posts. So
He's probably having a good laugh.
so 17 minutes ago, and I don't know what this is in reference to. I guess it's DeSantis, but I don't know what he means. He just writes, "His collar is too big!" Exclamation point.
Oh my gosh.
So,
What?
And then we have the sanctimonious raised much of his money during his run for governor, which in theory cannot be used for his current escapade. And before his poll numbers tanked, and wow, did they tank?
So, Matt, I have to ask you, do you think that Trump is afraid of Ron DeSantis running and outshining him potentially?
Well, I mean, I can't get in the guy's head, but I would say of all the other contenders, DeSantis would be the biggest threat in that, like, Nikki Haley and like the other ones are kind of like Romney. It's like no one's ever been happy to vote for them, but it's been done.
Right.
But
You
no
have
one
to.
would actually want to. Where like I don't know, the VBAC guy is getting like 1 or 2%. Like I don't know, no one's getting above I think even 5%.
Right.
Only DeSantis, and Trump still leads DeSantis by a ton, despite that. But he would be the #1 threat.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think that's why he's targeting. You guys know that Trump spent $15.3 million on DeSantis already, right?
Wow.
That's what
On-
we're at
On what?
on ads against DeSantis.
Oh wow.
So far. Like we're still over a year out. We're like a year and a half out.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's gonna happen. It's gonna be wild.
Well,
Yeah.
if they truly shut down the debates, like that really hurts Trump the most. Like that's where he shines. Like everyone loves him. Everyone loves the comedy. They love the entertainment. He really he's great live. Like
Yeah, he is. He is.
Entertainment, he is the king.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
is. But he didn't want to, right? He didn't want to debate, which is really like it shocked me to hear that. I was like, you think he loves it? He thrives
Oh
on
wait,
that
he
stuff.
he didn't want to. I thought
Yeah,
the
he
left.
actually- he spoke. I mean, both. So I think the DNC doesn't want Biden to have any debates and shut that
Right.
down.
Right,
Trump
right.
doesn't want Republican debates, but I think Ron McDaniel said they're having them regardless. So
Yeah.
Intriguing.
Well,
Yeah.
DeSantis versus no one knows.
Twitter,
more.
Twitter Spaces would have been a good.
Yeah, convenient.
Poor Elon's got to be tearing his hair out. I feel
No.
kind of bad for him.
All Elon has to say is, look, it was like the rocket, right? We knew it was going to explode. It was just like when it was going to explode.
Yeah,
That's a great.
And I'm sure that DeSantis had a backup plan.
Yeah.
I'm sure of it.
While we were talking, he just put out 2 anti-DeSantis attack ads on Truth Social.
There you go. Yep, told ya.
Before the campaign is even really out, I think.
He is losing it over there. My goodness gracious.
Check on Spaces.
Well, the funny thing is, it's like,
Available.
yeah, this is a win for him, and he doesn't, like he didn't have to do anything.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder how DeSantis is feeling right now. I'm just curious. I kind of want to be in their heads and be like, all right, what are you thinking? He's like, all right, that didn't go the way I planned, but it did make a splash. Like this is
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
this
did.
is a bigger splash than Tim Scott's microphone failing in the middle of whatever he was saying.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah, every headline tomorrow is going to be some joke about it. The failure to launch.
Right.
thing.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Which is great. I personally am glad that DeSantis is announcing because I love what he's done in Florida. Do you guys, either of you, think that DeSantis would be a good vice president?
Yes, but I think it would be a waste of his time.
You think so? You think he's meant for bigger things?
I don't know what the VP does. I don't. Kamala, does Kamala Harris know what her job is?
No.
Right,
she-
yeah.
To be fair,
She really
she doesn't know what anything is.
That's a
What do
good
you
point. Yeah,
What do you think, Ron?
I think I think he would be. Obviously, he's like good at whatever he does, but I think it's going to be interesting because Trump was the one that shut down the country during COVID, and scoreboard again. I mean, like DeSantis has him on that, so it's like, yeah, is he threatened by a guy? I'm sure, but again, if like Trump goes out and you see him on TV and stuff, like he's really, really good at winning people over. I mean, The Apprentice.
Charismatic.
Oh yeah, The Apprentice was the #1 show for a reason.
Yeah.
I just love seeing the guy. So
Yeah, it's to be studied. Like during that CNN town hall, there was one question about that. I think it was the day of that civil lawsuit where they found he was found not guilty of rape, but was found guilty of like sexual battery,
Defamation.
which
Yeah.
which made no sense given the
Weird.
other
Yeah.
charge. But by the end of Trump explaining his side of the story, like every single person in the room was like doubled over in laughter.
Right.
And to think any other politician, like the things that have sunk campaigns in history, to Trump, every single day there's something of that equivalent, and nothing happens, and only he can do that.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
that's a big benefit of him.
You
Well,
know,
they
he
call him
kind of
Don.
was the perfect president to have on television every day, though, because
Oh,
like
yeah.
you know, like what I know people are like all scared during COVID because we didn't know, you know, like we're being fed all the propaganda and people are going nuts on toilet paper and it's like but he's
Right.
on TV just acting like a clown and it's like that was cool, you know, like Fauci was up there obviously, which was not great. And I think that's going to hurt him a bit, even though he really tried to distance himself from Fauci. But, you know, like every day they were on television.
Yeah.
He had me at only Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah. That was great. That was great. He has had some serious singers. I think that people really need that. Like I completely understand the people who want to bring him back, right? I understand people wanting to get that feeling back and wanting to kind of get America to where it was before.
Yeah.
Whether that's possible, I don't know, because that time is kind of gone now, right?
Yeah.
That is the main challenge is independents don't like most people don't think the way we do, which is, you know, obviously a huge loss for the world, but
I know,
for our campaign prospects. So yeah, like a lot of the stolen election rhetoric is very poor with independents, unfortunately, and that's kind of who you have to win over. So there is a concern, and with DeSantis, the benefit is too. When he first ran, I think he barely squeaked out a win. It was I think less than a percentage point. And then the next, you know, election, the other guy might have not even. You know, there's no point of any Democrat even running. I think the party's pretty much decimated, and that happened in just 4 years. So you're gonna have to win over moderates and independents to have that effect. And
100%. Well, there's conversation too about women, and Trump has been kind of wishy-washy on the pro-life position, saying that DeSantis will end up losing women over that. I'm like, first of all, Mr. Lady Grabber, I don't think that you have a when it comes to women because women don't the suburban moms that you desperately need, you don't have them. I'm sorry. So I don't think you should be giving DeSantis pointers.
True.
Yeah, and it's something that he needs to think about. And the other thing that I was thinking too is that even if you cave to these women on abortion, they don't care what you give them. You are Donald Trump.
Our party is a party that they believe, and I mean, they would be right to believe, got rid of Roe v. Wade. So no matter where you are on the abortion spectrum of it should be banned at 6 weeks or 20 or whatever, they don't see any nuance in our position. They just see us as anti them, and it's you know trying to placate the left is an impossible feat. So
never gonna hurt. Never gonna work. Let me see if I can hear anything. Hold on one second.
Okay.
All right, let's check.
Oh my gosh, we're checking mics. We're only 37 minutes in.
Checking mics.
Yeah.
You can make an argument actually in favor of DeSantis from the quote unquote, you know, woman's perspective. The way he really stood up to
John, hold on.
Yeah.
I hear Ron talking. You guys hear this?
I cannot. Are they back?
On my end, space is not available. Maybe it just went off again. Failure to launch is the #1 trending thing on Twitter. Did I not predict that exact thing?
Yeah, Elon Musk, spaces details not available. Tim Poole said, looks like 460,000 people might be the limit for Elon Musk. This is amazing. But the funny thing is, didn't they do one that had 2 million, like not that long ago? I forgot who was in it. But
I don't know.
I think Elon was in it. I thought they had 2 million. Or maybe it was on the replays. They had 2 million. I don't know.
Yeah, they had a really big one just recently, but I don't know. This one is very likely to be much bigger. I wish you guys could hear it because DeSantis is just kind of pumping up Florida. It's great. He's talking about education.
Yeah.
And AACP doesn't actually care about these students.
And that's what I was saying with like the woman's perspective. Like DeSantis and his team really did a great job going after CRT, going after, woke in the school. So
Yeah,
they had a lot of support
Right.
there.
he is correct. Let's see if we can hear it now. See. All right. Yeah, talking about how the NAACP is sending their leaders down to vacation in Florida.
Oh, here we go.
Oh yeah.
Elon's like, okay, that's great. He's so awkward.
Who's in the room?
Everyone.
Okay.
56,000.
We have, let's see how many we got.
Or who's speaking, I should say.
Elon right now.
On my end, oh, there we go.
He's talking about how everyone's accused of being a Nazi, which is
Oh.
too. David Sachs is talking. Right. Vanity Fair is saying that it was David Duke and Elon Musk
Yeah.
because David Duke wasn't available. Absolute nonsense. Ron says the media is in a bubble.
It's so funny. It looks like it's like everyone's streaming right now. I think
Yeah.
all the platforms are benefiting except Twitter.
Oh, here we go.
Yep, that would make sense to me. No, I lost it, babe. Sorry. I don't know what just happened. That was
Yeah, I
weird.
can't get into it either.
The space.
And this is the issue, streaming spaces too. This right here.
What are the hashtags?
Other
Hashtag
side?
disaster.
Goodness gracious.
Poor guy. Ah, here we go.
Super echo.
Yeah, gonna go.
Super echo. Andy's sitting flat. So we're getting ridiculous hurricane. There we go. Touch.
Getting an echo on my end.
I'm getting a little echo.
Still. Oh my gosh. Okay. Can you guys at least hear the
Oh yeah, the echo's gone.
bass?
Yeah, we're good now. But I can't hear the video.
No video?
No, maybe they're mutually exclusive.
Annoying.
This is why it's impossible to stream spaces.
Man.
This is it. This is going to be an issue for the future. It'll be interesting too. I think they're going to have to do like some kind of super chat for the streams.
Yeah.
And so,
Oh, here we
We
go.
need to figure something
there's only
out.
so much you can actually fit in a newspaper or a
Oh, we can
magazine.
hear it now.
And there's only one thing you can really put
Great.
on the cover of magazines. So that deciding
Oh,
that
Andy's showing
is
us the
deciding to
screen.
not talk about other things. Whereas with a public digital town square like we have here, it's
I'm glad you
possible
can hear it. That's
to choose the
fantastic.
narrative. It empowers the people instead of a very tiny elite cabal, which I don't recognize the irony of me using that phrase. But nonetheless, it's true.
Hey, I've had coffee with
and
Giancarlo.
judged by the
He's
results
great.
that this is a means for people to decide the narrative and for the people to decide which way a debate will go, not sort of 5 editors-in-chiefs of a few newspapers, basically.
Yeah, and I think one of the really crazy things that happened during COVID is that
It's David
social
Sachs.
networks really started censoring
Yeah, it should have been Joe
dissenting
Rogan.
viewpoints on
Agreed.
COVID, medical
Would've been
viewpoints
amazing.
that ended up being totally correct
Goals, for sure.
in lockstep with what the mainstream media was doing. So basically,
Captions aren't
big tech
working,
platforms
which is kind
were
of
undermining their main reason for existing, which is giving people a choice. And actually, there's somebody who I think knows more about that than any of us, which is Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, who's a professor of medicine at Stanford. I want to pull him in here. Jay, you go ahead and
Jay's
unmute yourself
great.
if you can.
That's awesome.
It'd be great to hear
So
from you.
Trump should have fired Fauci and
I know
put
that
Malone
during
in.
COVID,
Then he
you
would have
worked
had
with
no
Governor
problems.
DeSantis. It'd be
Yeah.
great just to hear a little bit about your actions and if you have a question for the governor.
Yeah, thank you, David. Yeah, I mean, it was an absolute honor to work with Governor DeSantis, and I was really by his decision making in the face of an absolute firestorm of criticism. But he, Governor, you did the right thing when you opened the schools. And my kids in California for a year and a half didn't see the inside of a classroom, whereas Florida kids were in school. And you can see it in the results, and the learning loss numbers are so much better in Florida. I'm really curious, Governor, as you're running for president, what are your thoughts?
No, Andy. What are your thoughts, Governor?
Why are we? I feel like we're listening to like a conference call right now. I thought he was going to announce the, unless we missed it.
Yeah, so he may have cut that out and just tweeted it out and then just joined in with them in a kind of meeting.
Okay.
It does sound like a town hall.
Yeah.
Sounds like they're chatting. Ron's
He's
talking about how great Florida is, which it definitely is. We're moving down there shortly, and I could not be happier. But we'll see what happens with this. I think that Elon is going to describe this as like a rocket launch test. Like with the most recent rocket, he was like, we knew this might happen. And
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Like, it's kind of what we expected. And I know that he had to have thought this through already, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's no way to look at something this big and just be like, it'll be fine. We'll do it live. Like I heard them sitting there shuffling through papers and clicking buttons, trying what the heck they were doing. So see if we can hear them now. Let me see if I can find it from my. Did you pull it up, babe? So I see this. Yeah, no, not playing sound, but it looks like it might be their fault again. Very hard to know if it's their fault or our fault this time, which is so super exciting.
It was not playing any audio.
It wasn't. Yeah, it looks like it's stuck again. This is so interesting to me, though. I love it because I feel like I'm seeing a glimpse into the future when it will work. Hopefully.
Yeah.
But I think it's great because I love seeing the prototypes. I find it very exciting.
And the spin is so easy because you can just say, I was so popular, I crashed the biggest social media site.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Broke the internet.
Yeah.
There you go.
Broke the internet. Yep.
Yep. That's exactly what's happening here. We're watching it in real time. I love it.
Yeah.
We'll see if Andy can get it going. Thank you, dear. Appreciate that.
If you refresh it, it might be back.
Yep, let's see. Babe, refresh it. I'm sure he will. He's very tech savvy. It's his job. He fixes other people's tech all day.
It's cool he brought on Bhattacharya, though. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
cool.
really happy to hear that. Well, Elon let him back on, which I think is awesome. But it should be a given that everybody can be on Twitter. But if you're gonna actually treat it like a town hall, then yes, everybody gets to engage. So
Yeah.
let me send this back to Andy here.
Yeah, if Trump would have fired Fauci and put someone like Malone or McCullough or someone like that, a Bhattacharya, someone like that would have just fixed everything.
Yeah, totally agree. But he didn't. He never did. And I just get so frustrated. All right, let's see if we can listen. I'm going to throw this over to this space. Here we go. Can you guys hear it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Anti-lockdown. So these are all eminent people. And what are we discussing? We're discussing whether there's any scientific basis to force a school child to wear a mask for 8 hours a day. They all agreed there was no basis to do it and that you should not have school mask mandates. YouTube thought that was, quote, anti-science and that should be taken down. But even at that point, we had already had enough experience in Florida where you had some schools that had done it before the state banned the mandates. You had some schools that had done it, some schools didn't, and the results were no different. And yet his video was taken down by Google YouTube. So it was a huge, huge problem. And yes, I think the federal government, FBI, DHS, any of the health agencies, it's unconstitutional for them to be delegating speech restriction to a private company. You can't do indirectly what the Constitution would clearly forbid you to do directly.
Let me pull in. We have Congressman Thomas Massey. If you're there, go ahead and unmute. Talking about here is, I think, really unconstitutional actions by federal agencies. Congressman Massey, I know that you've been involved in this problem of government agencies being weaponized and used against the American people in an inappropriate way. Do you have a comment on this? And do you have a question for Governor DeSantis?
Well, first of all, let me say a big thank you to Elon Musk for buying Twitter and exposing all of this. On our weaponization committee, we wouldn't know so much of it if he hadn't done this, almost as a public service to the First Amendment. It's a trend. Government, as the governor said, the government is colluding with big corporations. We found out this week from an FBI whistleblower that Bank of America voluntarily gave names of and information on anybody who bought a hot dog in Washington, D.C. from January, and then overlaid that with gun purchases that they had on record anywhere in the country for any period of time. And just, they say they voluntarily gave that to the FBI. So that's disturbing to me. By the way, I've never met Elon Musk, but I'm one of your biggest fans. I'm the first congressman to have a Tesla. I'm on Starlink, and I would have bought a Powerwall, but I'm off the grid, and you wouldn't sell me one, so I had to make one with a wrecked Model S.
That's right, he did.
It's been running our house for 5 years, but
that's cool.
And just for the record, I was with Thomas our first year in Congress. He's got the Tesla, but his license plate is Kentucky Coal. So it's he's probably one of the only people that have that in the country.
Thanks for outing me, Governor DeSantis. But no, so Governor DeSantis, my question to you is, you served here in Congress for 6 years with me. And why is it that Congress is so feckless at reining in these government agencies? And what do you think we need to do? And if you were president, what would you urge Congress, or what bills would you like to see and sign to rein in this, sort of overreach of government bureaucracy?
Well, first, I think there's a lot that the executive branch can do, and
True Social's doing a thing.
We'll go into this a little bit more as the campaign goes on.
See
but
how that
buckle
does.
up when I get in there, because the status quo is not acceptable. We're going to make sure that we reconstitutionalize this government, and these agencies are totally out of control. There's no accountability, and we are going to bring that in a very big way. Now, part of the reason it's gotten so bad, power's been consolidated in effectively a fourth branch of government, because Congress hasn't used its two main powers that it has under the Constitution. First, the power of the purse. If an agency is engaging in conduct that is outside the realm of what is legal, or you think it's not good for the public interest, then you can remove the funding for those operations. There's nothing that they're not entitled to get the same level of funding every year, and yet Congress runs the government on autopilot, either continuing resolutions or massive omnibus spending bills. So these agencies are all bulletproof. They know that they're going to end up getting something similar or more every single year. And it creates an incentive for them to abuse their power. The other thing you can do is actually legislate, so you're not delegating to the bureaucracy key issues regarding how to enforce federal law. You should define what you want. All they should be doing is implementing. Instead, Congress will basically give an invitation for the bureaucracy to make really important substantive decisions. And so Congress on something, and the bureaucracy will cite a law from 20 years ago and do things that are going to transform our society or our country. That is not the way the founding fathers drew up the Constitution.
So would you sign the REINS Act? We passed it out of Judiciary today.
Oh, yeah, no, of course. Yeah, that's a no-brainer. That would, I think, be a great check for that. I also think that we're going to have a good chance to see some of the Chevron deference really curtailed, or maybe even eliminated based on the U.S. Supreme Court's upcoming jurisprudence. And I think that's another reason why the bureaucracy has become so powerful, because courts have basically been told they can pretty much do what they want, and courts are supposed to just defer. I don't think that that's actually correct. I think the courts, they have to make a judgment about what does the law actually say, and you can't just defer to experts in the bureaucracy.
Thank you.
All right, shifting gears, Governor, I want to ask you another topic that's been in the news a lot is Disney. They blamed you for canceling plans for $1 billion investment in Florida. Said they were jobs. I saw other reports that suggested Disney was going to make the cuts anyway, and due to a larger, budget cutting initiative. Regardless of why they did it, why do you feel your fight with Disney remains important? considering you already beat them on the parental rights bill that they opposed? And what would you say to some of your opponents in this race who argue that the fight has dragged on too long?
So first of all, Florida stands for the protection of children. We believe ideology in elementary school is wrong. Disney obviously supported injecting gender ideology in elementary school. They did oppose our parents' rights legislation. And the fact is, when they opposed it, that was a big deal because for 50 years, anytime Disney wanted something in Florida politics, they pretty much got it. But not this time. I signed the bill. We did, as you say, win on the issue. But what happened was Disney's posturing, some of the other statements that their executives were making, kind of the corporate culture had really been outed as trying to inject matters of sex into the programming for the youth. And I think a lot of parents, including me, look at that and say, that's not appropriate. I mean, we want our kids to be able to just be kids. And that's kind of our mantra. So you had this setup that Disney engineered where they actually had their own government that they controlled with no accountability. They were exempt from the laws that all their competitors had to follow, massive tax breaks, and they even racked up municipal debt. And Florida basically put them on a pedestal many decades ago and joined the state
they're like
one company at the hip.
They were like
We just didn't feel that we were comfortable maintaining that relationship. And so we ended their self-governing status. So Disney to live under the same laws as everybody. They got to pay the same taxes as everybody. And obviously they'll be responsible for those debts. So the reason why there's a quote fight is just because they filed a lawsuit against the state of Florida trying to get their special privileges reinstituted. But I don't think that that's good policy. And I think some of these Republicans that are taking Disney's side, they're basically showing themselves to be corporatists because these are all corporate goodies. This is not the way you would run a competitive economy. And the arrangement had really outlived its usefulness, but it persisted because Disney was so politically powerful. I think the company's ethos have changed in a way that's alienated a lot of people in our legislature and in Florida. And so there was really no justification to keep it. But make no mistake, they're suing to try to get special privileges. People are making money in Florida hand over fist because we have a great business climate. That's not good enough for them. They want to be treated differently than Universal and SeaWorld, and we don't think that that's appropriate. So, I think that they should withdraw the lawsuit, but obviously we're going to defend our actions because we think we have the right to do what we did.
Right down.
It's funny, the media used to criticize Republicans for being in the pocket of big corporations, and now they're attacking you because you're not.
Well, not only that, David, it's interesting because the media in Florida for years had hammered Disney, and they would point out like that this was not a good arrangement because Disney was not accountable to anyone. When the state control board took over this district, the firefighters came to the board and they said, hey, we weren't getting survivor benefits for some of these widows, and so the control board actually paid out some of the benefits that they were getting stiffed on. There were a lot of people in Central Florida who were really thankful that there was some accountability being brought to bear because, it's human nature. If there's no accountability over any individual or entity, of course, they're going to behave differently than if you have normal accountability. 100%. But the media was always very hostile to that. But just because I happen to be involved in bringing it back to reality and making sure that they were under the same laws, well, then all of a sudden they're running to Disney's defense. I mean, are you kidding me? And oh, by the way, project, they had announced this many years ago. They had not done anything for it, but that is actually not in Reedy Creek. So that was in a different part of Orlando. And so none of the issues that are involved in their suit would have made a difference there. Obviously, as a publicly traded corporation, they have a fiduciary duty to do what's best for their shareholders. So I'm assuming if they were in better financial shape and they saw the project as lucrative, they would have gone forward with it. But I think clearly they've had some problems with their stock price and a lot of other issues. And I'd also just finally point out, nobody probably has made Disney more money than me because they were open during COVID and they were closed in California.
Exactly.
Great point. Where literally I had all the theme parks in Florida open in 2020. People are going, it's safe, they're having fun, and the California parks were closed. I think they were closed for over a year out in California. So we were, I think, a much better place to be doing business, certainly since I've been governor.
Yeah.
Great. Let me
Universal
shift gears
actually
here
opened
to the topic
first.
of education. I want to pull Chris Rufo into the conversation.
Chris,
I know he worked
love
with
you.
Oh,
you on
that's
some
awesome.
initiatives.
Heck
I think
yeah.
one other thing that the mainstream media has, I think, bashed on is they've kind of started promoting this narrative that you want to ban books from school libraries. You refuse to teach kids about slavery
Erasing
or
Black
other
history.
unpleasant realities
Right.
of
That's
American
what they say.
history,
Yeah.
or pretend that gay people don't exist. Since many people, I think, in this room, we're now up to, wow, over 271,000 people. So this is, I think, totally unprecedented in terms of the numbers of people we have participating. By the way, I think
It's
Twitter looks much better
271.
now. I think it
Yeah.
crashed because
Okay.
when you
It's
multiply
smaller.
500,000 people in a
Yeah,
room
it's
by an account with over 100 million
that shows how
followers,
short people's
which is
attention
Elon's
spans are, honestly.
Yeah.
just a scalability level that was unprecedented. But with my meager followership, it seems to be working much better.
Yeah, no, it's we have some scaling issues specifically related to my account.
A little bit.
At one
Little bit.
point in January, if I tweeted above a certain size, the surface,
Yeah.
and then anyone else who was tweeting at the same time would lose their tweet as well.
So in any
there's some
event,
scaling
yeah,
issues.
yeah. Well, we're breaking
It's-
new
it's-
ground
it's,
here.
it's
We're-
good that
we're-
there's scaling issues.
Yes, you're breaking new ground when there are bugs and scaling issues. But in any event, back to the question I was asking you, Governor DeSantis, about education. The media has been, saying you're trying to ban books. You refuse to teach kids about slavery. You want to say that gay people don't exist. What is the truth of the matter for people who maybe have never heard from you before? And then I want to pull Chris Rufo in on this as well.
Yeah, so the whole book ban thing is a hoax. There's not been a single book banned in the go buy or use whatever book you want. What we have done
Go
is
get it.
empowered parents with the ability to review the curriculum, to know what books are being used in school, and then to ensure that those books match state standards and are age and developmentally appropriate. So, for example, parents have flagged books in schools that, for example, teach middle school kids how to use sex apps, that provide graphic depictions of
True.
sex acts and sex toys for people
He's
as
crushing
young
this.
as 5th grade. And so clearly
Good.
that is not appropriate to be
He
in a
knows
middle
what he's
school
talking
classroom. And so parents object and the schools take them out. I did a press conference that we called Exposing the Book Ban Hoax. And before I had the parents come up, before I spoke, I just played the video that had the images of the books that the parents had objected being in their kids' classroom. And the local news had to cut the feed because they said it was too graphic. Well, if it's too graphic for the 6 o'clock news, how is it okay for a 6th grader or grader? And so nothing's being banned. They're basically ensuring that we make curation choices that are consistent with state standards. And on the racial history, we eliminated critical race theory schools. That was the right thing to do. In other words, we're not going to take a kid who comes in at 6 years old and say they're an oppressor or oppressed based on what their race is. That's divisive. That's wrong. We're also not going to be teaching people to hate their country. But what we are going to do is teach the accurate history. So in the same bill that banned critical race theory, we required teaching thoroughly about racial discrimination that occurred in American history. And Florida's history standards require all of those subjects from slavery, Reconstruction, segregation, all of that to be taught, and will continue to do that. So I think what you see is the left and the media colluding on this. They don't want to actually defend what it is that we are actually legislating or regulating. So they create these hoaxes that somehow you don't want kids to learn that slavery existed in America, which is preposterous. No one actually defends the offending material. And the question is why are there people intent on trying to get this stuff into the classroom? And I think it's part of a political agenda. So our mantra in Florida is the purpose of the schools is education, not indoctrination. Yes, I think it's very inappropriate to have sexually explicit material in a 5th grade library, 100%. But it's also the case that if you're focusing on that type of instruction, there's an opportunity cost involved. Why shouldn't we be doing more on science or reading or math? And so I think we're getting it right. And I think almost invariably, and Chris Rufo's had to deal with this too, when they're trying to craft these narratives, you just peel back the onion, you realize that this is something they're manufacturing.
Spot on. I agree.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes a lot of
I
sense. I
think
mean,
so.
I was actually under the impression that there were some books banned, so this is news to me.
And they actually
Exactly.
this week was that Miami-Dade County took a book that was
Right.
about like
Stupid.
poems from I think like Biden's inauguration, and they moved it from elementary school library to middle school library. The media tried to act like somehow this is being banned, and you actually had Miami-Dade County Public Schools spokesperson have to come out and say there's nothing that's been banned or removed. It was basically just determined that this particular book was better suited for middle school. And so they put it in the middle school media center. And the media tries to act like somehow that is offending something with a book ban. So, but I think
It's
part of the
almost like they're
reason that doing
dishonest or
that is
something.
because there is actually a movement to ban
You never hate
books
the
from like
media enough.
Amazon and some of these others. California, some municipalities have banned things like To Kill a Mockingbird. What they're trying to
California
do
did.
is
Yep.
see if some of these books pass a woke test, and if they don't, they are going against some of those books. Whereas in whatever book you want, but that's a different question than what would be appropriate for a third grader or what would be appropriate for a sixth grader. Government, by definition, has to make those choices about
Brian's
what
in the
type of
background.
curriculum we want to put in front of our students, and the parents obviously have an important voice in that.
Absolutely. Well, in fact, a friend of mine, Tim Urban, who has a blog called Wait But Why, and is really one of the most reasonable people on earth.
I
one
interviewed
of the most
Tim Urban
reasonable
once,
people
a
I've
long
ever
time
met.
ago.
Had a lot of
Super guy.
trouble actually
Yeah,
publishing
nice
his
guy.
book, simply because it debated sort of sacred cows of woke ideology.
Why?
But
I'm gonna
probably
check that
reasonable
book
book.
out.
So
Yeah, his
is that publishers are unwilling to take risks.
Interesting.
Let me shift gears here for a second because I know we're running out of time. We're supposed to end, I think, around 4, but 4 Pacific. But
Like a
thank you
delayed
for
by
giving
an
us a
hour.
little bit extra
Yeah,
time here, Governor.
not surprising.
Shifting gears to a major federal issue, immigration. We see I've seen these videos on social media and on TV of what looks like just insanity at the border. What is your take on what's going on there, and how would you address that as president?
Well, I'd reverse what Biden's doing. Border down. You should not be entertaining these asylum claims for people crossing illegally. You know, asylum is a legitimate thing, but these are people that they come. I mean, they're being persecuted. These people coming overwhelmingly are economic migrants that are coming across many other different countries. They should be applying for asylum there if they were, truly qualifying for that, but they're not. They know that if they just show up at the southern border, and these are people all over the world that are coming illegally, they know that they will get a sheet of paper saying, okay, come back for a court date in 3 years, and they get released to the interior of our
That should
country.
do it.
It's an
Right.
absolutely insane system. So we'll stop that. We will move on day one by declaring a national emergency. We will construct a border wall. We will make sure we have remain in Mexico, painting those claims in that way. And we really need to hold the Mexican drug cartels accountable because they're facilitating a lot of this migration. They obviously make money off of it. They treat a lot of these people very horribly as they're trafficking them through Mexico and into the United States. And of course, the cartels have been responsible for moving massive amounts of fentanyl into this country, tens of thousands of Americans every year now. And what they're doing is they lace the other types of drugs with the fentanyl. So you may have like a teenage kid doing something they probably shouldn't do, but in prior would not have been fatal. And now if it's laced with fentanyl, these kids can overdose and die. And so mothers are losing kids as a result of this fentanyl epidemic. And I just don't think you could allow these criminal organizations to continue poisoning our population. So it'll be a day one issue. We will bring overwhelming amount of resources to deal with it, and we are going to stop this insanity once and for all.
There's a, I think, follow-up question on immigration from Steve Dace, who is a national radio personality and I think an important commentator in the great state of Iowa. Steve, do you have a comment or question? I think you just need to unmute.
It's going to. Steve,
If If Steve can unmute, then we'll go ahead and ask him for a question. If not, we'll keep rolling here.
Steve, don't miss your chance.
All right, 3, 2, going, gone.
I'm
All
there.
right,
There he goes.
sorry,
We got
Steve.
him. We got him.
Oh, there
There
you
he
go.
is.
All right.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
Bye.
goodness.
My bad. First
That
of all,
was tense.
echo what Congressman Massey said to Elon. Elon, if I put down money on January 1st, 2022, that Twitter was going to be the last bastion of free speech on earth, brother, I'd be about as rich as you are on that bet right now. I mean, it's incredible what you
True.
have done here, and the restoration of a lot of accounts that were truth tellers and were ran from here for telling the truth. I saw a meme the other day that said, of course you have scientific consensus when you censor all the scientists who disagree. So
Yeah.
I wanted to just say, first and foremost, on behalf of a lot of grateful people around the country and the world, really, thank you very much for that and the investment you made in that cause. Thank you. A question as a follow-up to you, Governor, on this very issue with immigration. We have heard a lot over the years, lock her up, drain the swamp, going to build a beautiful wall. Mexico's going to pay for it, and crowds cheered, and everybody loved it, and brands got built, and nothing got done. What is the bottom line assurance that you can make to the people that are listening right now, all over the world
Yeah, the
and all over the
vaccine.
country, that
It
you can
wasn't great.
actually do the agenda that you just articulated when others tweeted about it and talked about it, but then couldn't actually follow through?
Yeah. Great question.
It's a great question because I share that frustration. I think even my worst critics in Florida will acknowledge when I tell people I'm going to do something, I don't make promises or say I'm going to do something lightly. I've thought it through, and I know that I am going to follow through on what I tell people I'm going to do. So this is one. There will be follow through. Number two, I understand the different leverage points that you would have under Article 2 of the Constitution. I studied that a lot at becoming governor about Florida's Constitution, doing the same Constitution. And you've got to know how to use your leverage to advance what you're trying to accomplish. So, for example, there's leverage that we can use vis-a-vis Mexico that I think presidents have not been willing to do. I think sometimes for political purposes. But I'll look at, okay, what are all the variety of options we can do? Which buttons can I push? And I will do that to be able to bring this issue to a conclusion once and for all. We had Hurricane Ian come through Southwest Florida, Category 4+ storm, September of 2022. And it did a lot of damage. But one of the things it did, it knocked out a bridge going from the mainland to Pine Island, and it severed the Sanibel Causeway in 3 different locations. And the locals were being told it's going to take 6 months to get that stuff repaired. And so they came to me, even though these were not state-owned bridges, and they said, can you help us? And I said, okay, I'll do it. So I got my guys together. I said, listen, no bureaucracy, no red tape, and no excuses. Get it done. We need to open these bridges back. Pine Island Bridge reopened 3 days later. Sanibel Causeway opened 2 weeks after that, way ahead of schedule.
Amazing.
Because
We were here for that.
No for an answer.
That's awesome.
And we wanted to make sure we got
That's
it done.
impressive.
So for me, it is not a campaign slogan that you get in and then forget about it. I'm, as an American citizen, if I wasn't running, this would be an issue that bothers me. I've put a lot of my Florida governor involved in combating illegal immigration. We banned sanctuary cities my first year. We just did a strong anti-illegal immigration bill in Florida that's working. I put marine assets in the Florida Keys to help the Coast Guard repel boats from places like Haiti. I have people at the southern border right now helping Texas, and we've even been able to relocate illegal aliens to places like Martha's Vineyard. So I don't think any governor has probably gone out of his way to do more to try to make an impact on this issue. And I'm not going to take no for an answer. And I think our voters are sick of the empty promises. They want to see action.
Thank you, Governor.
Well, Governor, I saw the cover of Time Magazine this week, and I think they were trying to do a negative story because they had you were sort of scowling in this portrait they made of you, and in the article they call you they compared you to the Terminator, and I think they meant an insult, but I thought it was kind of cool. I thought it was a good thing because I think we need a cool-headed, ruthless assassin to go in and basically take on the woke mob, take on our out-of-control government, and take on problems like the ones at the border. So, again, I thought it made you sound great, even though that may not have been their intention.
Well, look, at the end of the day, this whole business that we're in is about producing results. I don't care about fanfare. You know, I'm the governor, like that is, I'm known, right? And I go around the state and everything, and people are very nice. And so, I mean, I appreciate it, but I don't need any of the fanfare. I don't need any adulation. I just know I'm in a position where I have a chance to make a difference, and I'm either doing it or I'm not. And I remember sitting at the desk in the state capitol my first day as governor 4.5 years ago. I looked around the room and I thought to myself, I don't know what SOB is going to succeed me in this chair, but they are not going to have anything to do because I'm getting all the meat off the bone. I am going to make sure that I'm leaning into issues and making an impact. We have done that in the state of Florida, and I bring that exact attitude up to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Governor, I'd love to jump in and follow up on that. This is Chris Rufo, and I've had the honor of working with you in the past few years on critical race theory, gender ideology, and the DEI bureaucracy. And what I've seen up close and personal is that while many conservative politicians going back decades have made headlines and got on television playing culture war, they never actually get anything done. And what you've done over the last few years is really astonishing. You've eliminated CRT from all Florida's public institutions. You've stopped gender ideology dead in its 12. And just last week, you eliminated the DEI bureaucracy in all of Florida's public universities. They'll be shut down completely. And I think what you've done is established a blueprint for fighting back against the left's long march of the institutions and making sure that those institutions reflect the value of Florida voters, not left-wing activists and the partisan press. So my question for you is, DC is another animal. It's quite different, the scale of the federal government. And how are you going to deliver results? And what is your culture war strategy facing down the swamp in DC?
Well, some of it is similar in this respect. When we're taking on things like DEI, you get blow from legacy media and the far left. But that's an example of an issue where they are out of step with the vast majority of Americans. It's not just Republicans. It's independents and a lot of Democrats. Because you think about
nobody likes listening to Robin DiAngelo.
Kids, you want to know when they apply to college, they're going to be judged based on their merit, and they're not going to be roadkill in some type of woke Olympics where they didn't fit some category and so they're denied opportunity. They want to make sure that achievement matters. And so we get a lot of quiet support for a lot of those things. And so I think what I do, just because, look, I'm a blue collar kid. I grew up in the Tampa Bay area, working minimum wage to get through school. My grandfather worked in the steel mill in Western Pennsylvania. I just know instinctively kind of what like normal people think about all this stuff. And I have a good sense of when the legacy media and the left are outside of where the average American is, because people want you to be using common sense. And things like DEI, I mean, when I was growing up, I think things were better because people were actually told you should try to get along. Now they're told you need to segregate. And it's just crazy that they're trying to do all this stuff. So by eliminating that, there's a lot of people that were really happy about that, including people that certainly are not traditional Republicans. And I think there's similar issues when you do it at the federal level. It's also the case that there are some tools at the federal level that we don't necessarily have at the state level. For example, some of the problems with the university and the ideological capture, that didn't happen by accident, can trace back all the way to the accreditation cartels. Well, guess what? To become an accreditor, how do you do that? You've got to get approved by the U.S. Department of Education. So we're going to be doing alternative accreditation regimes where instead of saying you will only get accredited if you do DEI, you'll have an accreditor that will say, we will not accredit you if you do DEI. We want a colorblind, merit-based accreditation scheme. And so president controlling that agency, you can then approve other types of accreditation. So I think part of it is just knowing where are all the pressure points? How does it get to the point that we then see and that somebody like you will run a report on? Like when you see some of the outrageous stuff that's generated in some sociology department at a university, that didn't just happen out of thin air. There's a reason why we got to that point. And I think that there are some tools with the federal government where you can push back and try to get these institutions moored in a more foundational direction about, hey, we're pursuing truth here. And we're not here to try to impose one niche ideology on the entire student body.
Great. Shifting gears. Dana Lash, you have a question or comment for the governor?
I do. And thank you both so much for your time, for joining us in a very new way. I really appreciate that. I think it's really cool.
Oh, who is
and for your support of free
Dana
speech.
Lash.
And Elon,
Okay.
I have to say thank you for taking arrows and for unthrottling the accounts of all of us who got in trouble for sharing a New York Post story about a laptop.
Right. Yeah.
And Governor, I wanted to thank you for your leadership and your unwavering support of Second Amendment rights. And you're on my program tomorrow, and I just got to say, you got my vote in the primary, so I appreciate it very much. You were talking about DEI just a minute ago, and I want to ask you both about this growing threat against natural rights and free enterprise. It's this threat of debanking. Now, I know that, Elon, I've read so much about you and what you've gone through. You've called ESG criteria evil incarnate. Governor DeSantis, Florida, saw financially weaponized wokery earlier this year when Wells Fargo Bank dumped both the business and personal accounts of a very prominent and well-respected gun dealer in Florida. They'd been together for 25 years working with Wells Fargo, and they cited new ESG guidelines. Now, similar to the DOJ's previous Operation Choke Point, all these activists for various causes are using this regulatory guidance to debank what they consider to be politically incorrect businesses for the sake of risk management. Now, we say that our rights should not be infringed upon by the government, but what can and should be done about activist-guided financial institutions and these payment processors who are essentially cutting off law-abiding citizens and businesses?
Well, I think it's a fundamental issue that I think not enough conservatives have. More and more are, but at the end of the day, we have certain fundamental rights, and so maybe you're somebody that is, really excited about your Second Amendment rights, and obviously, if the government comes in and infringes that, we know you blow the whistle on that. That's a problem. But what if Wall Street banks are colluding so that somebody can't function in that space, whether it's running a store or anything involving that? Your rights are still being infringed upon in that situation. And so I think this whole ESG movement is really trying to do through the financial sector what they could never achieve through the ballot box. And so they're trying to do a constitutional system, and they're really trying to change policy. They're trying to change society, and they're trying to change the scope of people's rights. And so in Florida, I just signed anti-ESG legislation, which said things like no ESG criteria in our pension fund. We got a $180 billion state pension fund. No social scores for consumers when they're going to bank. In other words, if you apply for a loan, that loan should be judged based on your credit worthiness, not whether you're genuflecting to the appropriate left-wing causes. But one thing we did do is we did provide protection against this debanking with the woke banking. No discrimination based on your religion and other things.
It's sad
we
we have
are know is happening.
Yeah, this
So
should
I
not
think
need to be sad.
it's a fundamental question, but we
But
will
here we
not
are.
be a free society if major financial institutions can do through the economy what people could not achieve through the ballot box. Our rights will be restricted, will be the end result, and that's not healthy for a free country.
As a follow-up to that, Governor, Dana mentioned Operation Choke Point, and that is a term that's very familiar to crypto companies in Silicon Valley and fintech companies. Basically, it refers to an effort by the federal government, including the SEC, to basically regulate blockchain and crypto companies out of existence. They really feel like they're being driven out of the country. And I'm not talking about scammy ones or the totally fake ones like FTX, but really high quality, good companies, including companies that are public like Coinbase. And these guys are basically begging the government for just a framework. They're just like, tell us how to operate legally and we'll do it. I guess where do you come down on this? What is your view, I guess, broadly of Bitcoin and people's right to hold Bitcoin and to transact Bitcoin?
And Dogecoin.
You have every right to do Bitcoin.
Yes.
The only
Dogecoin.
reason these people in Washington don't like it is because they don't control it. And they're central planners, and they want to have control over society. And so Bitcoin represents a threat to them. And so, as you're saying, they're trying to regulate it out of existence. Look, Could Congress enact a statute to ban things like Bitcoin under the Constitution? They may be able to do. I would oppose that. People should be able to do Bitcoin, but Congress has never addressed this in this fashion. And for the bureaucracy to just do it on their own and make it so people can't operate in that space, that's what we mean when we say we've got to return the government to the people's elected representatives who are our voice to be able to make these decisions. And so as president, we'll protect the ability to do things like Bitcoin. I think these are people that are sophisticated. They can make decisions. There's risks involved with it, but let them do that. I just do not have an itch to have to control everything that people may be doing in this space. And I think that the current regime, clearly, they have it out for Bitcoin. And if it continues for another 4 years, they'll probably end up killing it.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think that is the strong feeling of people in Silicon Valley who are in this space. And I think we'll be heartened to hear your answer on that. I mean, the weird thing is that, and there is a huge constituency of crypto Twitter. So for people who are maybe part of political Twitter who are wondering why we're talking about this, it really has a big audience for this topic.
Dogecoin too, on website.
Yeah, Bitcoin.
Throw that in there. Squeeze it in.
So shout out to all the Doge fans out there. But the weird thing is that this administration, they seem to want to ban Bitcoin, but they want to create a CBDC, which stands for a central bank digital currency. What's your take on that?
So we were the first state. We actually got the Florida legislature to pass a law that says Florida does not recognize central bank digital currency, because some states were actually adding that to their uniform commercial code. The federal government's studying this. We did the opposite and say we didn't. Now, the reason why we did that is because what the Federal Reserve has said is, well, we're going to consult with Congress. We'll consult with the executive branch. We don't have a CBDC right now. And ideally, we would get authorization for Congress. Well, wait a minute. It's not ideally. You must get authorization from Congress. I don't think Congress would authorize it. So if they unilaterally try to do this, we're trying to provide protection for people here in Florida. I know Biden did the executive order. They're studying it. I can tell you, President, we are not doing a central bank digital currency. I think that would be a huge, huge imposition on people's financial freedoms and financial privacy. And oh, by the way, what would the logical result of this be? If the central authority has oversight over this, of course they're going to start imposing ESG criteria. Oh, wait a minute. You filled up your gas tank 3 times this week. You can't do any more. The sky of how they would be able to manipulate this. So I see it as a massive transfer of power from individual consumers to a central authority. And I don't think that that's good for a free society. So I'm a no on central bank digital currency.
Sounds good.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, sounds great.
Well, Governor, I want to thank you for the time. I mean, we could go for hours here, but I know you only had an hour and we've gone over that. So I want to be respectful of your time. I know there's so many people who want to ask questions, and
we should do it again. I mean, I think it was fun. I think this is great. And we'll
sometime it actually works.
That we come back and do it again. This is a great platform. I mean, I would like to see other platforms going in the same direction, but a healthy democratic society needs the robust debate. So I just want to thank everybody for listening in, and I'll just make that pitch again. We want you on the team. We'd love for you to go to rondesantis.com and make a donation so that we can get this done on this nomination and win the election in November of 2024. God bless everybody, and thank you.
Well, thanks, Governor. And yeah, we have over 300,000 people in the room. It's really been pretty incredible. And, we started with some technical issues because of the sheer scale of and unprecedented nature of what we were doing. But it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I think this finished really strong. So,
yeah, I think it's just really great for the people to hear directly from presidential candidates and have it in a conversational tone, which obviously results in, it's because it's not scripted. So, but it's genuine. And I think that really gives the people an opportunity to understand who might be their president in a way that's real. So thank you very much for coming out and doing this.
And the invitation's open to any other candidates who might want to do this.
Absolutely.
Of course
it is important for people to hear directly from candidates. So thank you for working with us on this historic event, and yeah, looking forward to future
Did Vivek
conversations.
raise his hand
just,
in the chat?
Having
Oh, I
a
don't
great
know.
night.
Probably Tim Scott and Nikki did.
All righty,
for sure.
everybody. Thanks for just.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Nice. Amazing. Bye.
That was awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, no one on the left is going to take up that, and
Oh, of
obviously
course not.
Trump can't. Yeah.
I would
Well,
hear
you can't.
Biden.
Yeah, you can't field the questions ahead of time.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a pretty
Exactly.
good format, though. I mean, despite the disastrous rollout, I think going forward, it's I don't know, nice to kind of have like a fireside chat with the candidates.
Yeah. They're making conference calls cool again.
It's great.
And that's kind of the funny thing. Like in this day and age, it's videos king. And it's interesting, like the Twitter space is an all audio format, but
For now.
Yeah, for now. We'll see.
Yeah, they might bring, what was it, Periscope back, I heard. I heard rumblings about that, but we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, bringing Periscope back. Yeah. Do you think this helps DeSantis?
What do you guys think?
I mean, it was. I didn't see. I mean, I know there's gonna be jokes about the rollout, but in terms of actual content, he did a great job. He addressed everything, and there was nothing. I mean, the criticisms I heard that I was kind of reading while we were listening were like kind of like his sounds slightly autistic or nasally, but I don't think that's. I mean, who doesn't? To be honest, I mean, I probably do. So yeah, I don't think it's disqualifying. I really can't. But no, good on content. It'll be an interesting race. I'm kind of looking forward to Trump's response too.
Yes.
I put it in the chat. He has one on Truth Social.
Oh snap! That's exciting. Yeah, that's awesome.
He has a response. Yeah, I think he did really well. I think they're obviously talking to people that are in this space already, which is really obviously good for them. But the CRT stuff is good. Rufo's great on that topic.
He's the best. He is the best, and I'm so glad he's working with him. All right, Matt. What does Trump say?
Rob, my big red button is bigger, better, stronger, and is working. And then you put in parentheses, truth, referencing Truth Social. Yours does not, referencing Twitter. And then he put in parentheses, for my conversation with Kim Jong-un of North Korea, soon to become my friend.
Wow.
Wow.
That was a surprise ending.
It's going to be a great election.
This is going to be wild.
Can't wait.
Soon to become my friend.
DeSantis had this conversation. It wasn't in. You could actually hear a dialogue, and I feel like whenever you hear the person that's always talking with him is always attacking him the whole time. So all you get is this cat fighting the whole time. So it's actually super refreshing to hear an actual dialogue. Like presidents have plans, or people who want to run, they have plans. Like I want to hear more of those.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, it always forces Trump on the defense. So you get the kind of agitated Trump, which I do love, but I love, I like more, I don't know, general policy analysis and all that too.
Yeah. Well, Adam, you're a little bit biased on the Florida front.
I am.
Full disclosure, that's your man, which I completely understand. Like being able to see that happen, like the Pine Island Bridge, that was wild to watch that happen so fast. I was like, they're not going to be able to fix that bridge for a really long time.
We drove over that about 6 hours before it actually crumbled. We were down in Miami coming back. Susie had some horrible eye infection, so we had to drive back during a hurricane. It was a disaster.
Thank goodness you got back before, though, I guess.
It's not just what DeSantis is doing for for a state, though. It's also the people in Florida. We love each other. We work together. We want to keep our state the way it looks. So job with it, but it was the people showing up because we're a tight-knit community down here.
Yeah. I think that's great. And I constantly talk about the great sort, how people with different views are going to end up in the places that correspond with their views. Like I was reading a group chat between trans supporting parents talking about how they're going to take their toys and go to Colorado or they're going to go to Massachusetts. And I'm like,
bye.
There you go. Bye. Goodbye. You can leave Florida, right? Please. Goodbye. Please leave. See yourselves out. And I'm like, that's just exactly how it should be, right? It really is. There's no reason for people who live there to hate where they live, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm like, I feel like this is the natural outcome. Let's see who we got. Andy says that we have someone in the lobby and we should let them in. I'm not sure who it is. That'll be a mystery. Let's see.
Mystery guest.
Mystery guest, welcome. If and when you pop up.
I do.
Yeah, we'll
I
see
do.
when they pop up.
I do like that they touch on ESG. That was a really good question.
Yes, they covered everything. I thought that was good. I thought it was really good.
I know.
Wide-ranging chat, different people asking questions.
Yeah, and he's been good on that. He's been really strong on that. Anyways, like Biden vetoing it when the Republicans went after the ESG for retirement, retirement packages.
Right.
And
Right.
Biden vetoed that. But yeah, I mean it's scary. You just you look at Bud Light, you look at Miller Lite or whatever, and it's like that's what it always leads to. And it's people are like, well, why is this coming out? Why is the Bud Light thing coming out? Why is Miller? It's like because that's where all the roads lead to. Like you have to create that kind of content in DEI. So
yeah.
I
personally love that anytime Ron DeSantis is asked a question about what he would do at the federal level, he already has an example from Florida. Like he has not been slacking. Okay, let's be clear about this. There was a lot that Trump didn't get done, and I understand that the federal level is different than the state level. It's a lot more complicated. Holy cow. Legit.
Yeah.
Totally get it. Huge swamp. The permanent state is like actually evil. Like we're seeing this with the FBI and all these other deep state actors. So I completely understand. But Ron has done, like he is walking the walk. He's not just saying this stuff. So I give him the most benefit of the doubt. I love that he has kids. For some reason, it's a huge hang up to me that somebody like Tim Scott is a bachelor, doesn't have any kids. What investment do you have in the future if you don't have like an anchor actually tying you to it? Right. And that could be like a personal thing. That could just be a hang up of mine. But I think it is kind of a big deal for the person at the helm to have a very personal interest in making sure that the country's going in the right direction. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems
Probably
like,
a personal thing, but
it seems like I remember someone pointed out there is a left-right divide in that, even like among cable news hosts, where like people like Tucker and whatnot have very large families, and then obviously like Maddow, Lemon, all the other people on the left have either one kid or none. So it is an interesting cultural divide.
Yeah. Well, we look over into Europe and we see Angela Merkel and we see Macron, and none of them have kids, right? And they're acting like they don't have kids. Like it's not surprising the way they're behaving. They just don't care. They have no personal connection. And I don't like the idea of making only personal arguments, but there's a case to be made that when you care, like are deeply invested in what's going to happen, you're going to think twice about the policies you're passing. So
yeah, and the kids thing, it's like that's where the left has lost the argument. The fact that Target's looking at kids, you have the drag shows for kids and all that. Like they're forced to defend that stuff. And I think what DeSantis was saying was right. Like there's moderates on both sides that like that's the line. Like you can't bring that stuff into and it's kind of like the turf argument. Women's safe spaces, like there's kids safe spaces. You don't bring that stuff in. Yeah, it's just it's wild that they have to defend it.
Yeah, well,
it's wild they do defend it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They put themselves in that situation. And now they're
like, oh, nothing wrong with this at all.
It's in politics. There are certain things where people just reflexively defend something because the other side's against it.
Yeah.
You think at least with this issue you draw a line and be like, well, maybe in this case, you shouldn't be lobbing off the penis of a 4-year-old. But no, no one, apparently,
no, they don't care.
No.
Well, they're very in for a penny, in for a pound, right? If they're going to defend what they believe, then they're going to defend all of it because they have to know at a certain level. I think the actual true believers have to understand that if you actually want to flatten society and make everyone equal, which they tout as a positive thing, we know is not a good thing, then you have to push all of this stuff. Like you have to introduce the idea of sterilizing people or leaving them without kids by means of abortion or whatever else, because that's the next step, right? You have to make everyone equal. You have to flatten everyone out. No one gets to have kids. No one gets to control the future by being a parent. That's why they're going into the schools. That's why they're proselytizing and turning these little kids into social justice widgets. So
yeah.
wild to watch, and I think that we should 100% be focused on what they're doing, not on what the opposition in our own party is doing. And I can't help feeling, it makes me feel all sorts of mixed ways about Trump, but I can't help feeling that he's burning daylight going after DeSantis when he has so many easy shots. He could be taking at Biden. He's just missing.
It is frustrating when I log on Twitter and I see the Trump DeSantis debate, and it's like someone arguing with someone else who agrees with like 99.8% of the same policies, and I'm like, what are you doing?
That's a waste.
Yeah. And,
well, the other thing though too, it's like I think what Trump really has is the population. Like if you look at how many people actually watch this, it was like what 300,000 people. It's such a small sample size.
Yeah, a 1/10%, I think, right?
I know, yeah, and like Donald Trump just. Again, you know, if they do cancel the debates and they do kind of like hamstring him where he's not on television as much, like the media like hands him the presidential.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. And they know. And I think that's why they're doing it. This is Biden desperately seeking Trump, right?
Yeah.
I think you guys are welcome to correct me if I'm wrong. Matt, you might know about this, but my understanding was that the Trump team said they weren't. It's because he had such an advantage. Which
do you mean DeSantis or Trump?
Trump.
He wouldn't debate because he was too good to beat everyone. Was his excuse?
He said he's already winning. He doesn't need to. That was my understanding. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, interesting. There's that argument. There is.
I mean, that does sound exactly like something Trump would say. So.
I think Trump. The last debates we saw with Trump and Biden, I actually didn't think he did a great job, and
he didn't
to avoid that happening again.
Even the Hillary debates, I was like, you have so much. Like he destroyed the Republican debates so well in the primary, and there was I don't know what happened when he went against Hillary and Biden, where I was disappointed in both. He at least got in the because you'd be in jail line, which kind of redeemed everything.
Right, a little bit.
But I was disappointed in that. There's just so much material to go after Biden over, and I remember I think it was the first debate Trump was going to filibustering when with Biden you just have to let him speak for like 10 seconds
30
straight,
seconds,
and sit back and so that was frustrating, but no.
Yeah, well, I think there's this like norm of presidential debates, and I think that first one he did with Biden was so wild. Like everyone loved that. Like even the people that say they didn't like it, they loved it. Like there's a ton of people that were watching that and laughing their asses off, and that kind of I think that does kind of speak like more to like the population, not the really super serious political people, but like kind of the people that are like. You know, if I'm going to watch a presidential debate, I want to see, them yelling at each other. That it was, and like Biden got so flustered. You know, I caught the clip where he was like, "Shut up, man!" You know, he's like,
shut up, man. Yeah,
he couldn't handle it, and it's like, and there's an argument to be made. It's like if you're in the room with like, you know, Putin or whoever, Kim Jong-un or whatever, like, who do you want there? You know?
Yeah, that's
no one.
too.
Biden.
That's the problem with the whole like people vote for who they'd have a beer with. Like the guy who would take down Putin is not a guy I'd want to have a beer with. He's not going to be a nice guy who's like shooting the shit. He's going to be, I don't know, someone more like Trump or even more aggressive. So
yeah, shaking him down. Yeah, just and like you know there's a limit and stuff. But then I think that's where DeSantis struggles a bit is because he is such a nice guy, you know, and.
That's not what they're saying, right? They're saying he's super unfriendly. He only talks to his wife. Like he's really not into it with regular people. He doesn't go out for drinks. It's kind of
I could see being guarded like that, but I mean as far as like on television or you know in the heat of the moment or live or whatever, like you know like that whole Twitter space was very calm and
true.
You know, and it was very, very good paced and he controlled it. But, you know, if Trump's on there, he's screaming and yelling, you know, it's like more of like the Alex Jones.
Yeah. Well, I'm not convinced that Trump would be screaming and yelling if he didn't have an opponent there. Right.
Right.
Even when he went on CNN and he is fine. It was okay. He told Caitlin Collins she was a nasty person.
Well, she is.
It's just his,
she's not
great. You got to set him up for it, to be fair. Yeah. You know, but I think it probably would have been calm. I do think that Trump's more amusing. I'm not sure that's what people want staring down the barrel of this economy and this border.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
they might want people who actually can make it happen.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
it's hard to argue that, DeSantis can't do that, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Lydia, okay, we've got Ukraine going on, Russia, all these things happening foreign. Who do you want to see as a president, a better president, if things do pop off? Who do you think would be a better person to take control of that?
I personally love that DeSantis has been in the military.
Okay.
It's really, really, I think that pretty much every president ever should probably have military experience, because if you are sending people overseas, you damn well better understand what that looks like.
Yes.
Right? You better understand what their families are going through. And Biden never has, right?
Yeah.
Trump
Well, his
was
son
really-
died at war.
That's true too. That's true. That's fair.
Yeah, he died
He
twice.
did.
He never. Yeah,
He didn't
always
die at war.
makes
You're
sure
right.
to
You're right.
remind
Thanks for
everyone, too.
correcting me. He didn't actually die at war, but he did serve, right? I think that he went overseas.
Yeah.
He didn't obviously actually die over there. He died of brain cancer, which was also sad. I get
Yeah,
it.
that's sad, yeah.
But he's trying to pretend it's something that it's not. But yeah, I think that. And I think that a president who has been in the military, like, my understanding about Putin was that he was part of the KGB, which, whatever, it's great. I mean, I think that if you're going to be leading the military, you should know exactly what that entails. That's my 2 cents, but at the same time, Trump was great with foreign policy. I never expected to see the amount of peace in the Middle East. I didn't expect to see a president go into the DMZ. For the first time in a really long time, Russia actually didn't make any advances over there. And I think he's probably correct when he says he could deal with, the Ukraine kerfuffle in a heartbeat. But I guarantee you that any Republican leader could, because we know why Biden is being such a soft touch with them, right? We know of blackmail. We know all of the bribes and everything. We know the Biden Inc. nonsense. So what do you guys think? Who would you rather have in charge when it comes down to like a conflict like this?
If I had to personally pick, I would say Tulsi Gabbard. I don't know if she's an option, but I'm a huge Tulsi
good.
fan. Tulsi all the way. But yeah, if I had to choose, I don't know. Trump was really good. Like, we didn't have any new wars.
Yeah, that's true. We had peace
he doesn't get he doesn't get credit for that. And I don't know. It's a tough one.
Yeah. About Ron's position to make that decision yet. And I really think that's the thing that's going to matter, because to me, I've got a bunch of kids, a bunch of sons. And if those things do end up happening, like, it's going to be my kids that are being sent forward. So for me, that's probably the biggest issue. And I want to hear both of them talk about it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Do you think Biden has done such a terrible job, though, that it doesn't matter who's on the other side? That's what I've been kind of thinking about. Like,
turn off the faucet, money, and I think it kind of wraps up nice and neat.
Yeah,
I think so too. That's shocking.
Unless they cheat again, right? No, I'm just kidding. Cancel.
Wait, did that happen?
Cancel Lydia's channel.
Canceled. No.
The big
it's
lie.
fine. Well, wait,
In
no, we know
2016, yeah.
Yeah, well, right, in 2016, which is what Hillary's still going on about.
Yeah.
No, we know that they did kind of pull cords in the 2020 election. I don't think that, and we've been also talking long enough that I don't think YouTube's gonna have an issue with it. But I don't know. What do you think?
You
Matt?
never know with YouTube, though.
Yeah, that's true.
I just want to clarify, the comment was definitely a joke, and we all agreed it was.
That's right.
Yes.
Joe Biden was the most popular president in the
Most
history.
popular.
81,
etc.
billion.
I think the election. In fact, YouTube, if you're watching this, I think the election was rigged. I think Biden actually got more votes.
Yeah.
You think he should have had more? You're right. It was rigged against him.
That's definitely
I think you're right.
I think I'm right.
Yeah,
Save
I
the
lived
day
in
there.
We're safe now.
I lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It was funny because, like, on the local news, people are freaking out because there's like 300,000 votes that came in for Biden, like, overnight. So, like, I was talking to people at work or whatever, and they were just like, "Yeah, that's such bullshit." Even the people that aren't politically active were like, "Okay,"
That's
but
crazy.
I think what it was like the obviously the mail-ins or whatever. But yeah, it was pretty weird. But then the recount was weird too. Like I was talking to the people at the recount, like most of the employees had no idea what their job was. So I was like,
Oh, that's great.
This is
Good,
really
yeah,
good.
that's exciting.
It was really bad.
Yeah, just click this button really fast. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this one person I was talking to, I was like, hey, yeah, like how long have you been or whatever, and she's like, yeah, we had training. They didn't tell us anything. I've just kind of been standing here the whole day, and I was like talking to other people, and it was weird. Like people couldn't actually see the counters either because it was COVID, so people had to stay far away from the people who were counting, which was strange.
And that pandemic was sure helpful to them.
Yeah, crushed the economy.
Pandemic that was definitely real, by the way.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
Did I miss
too.
something?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can't question that either because we're not on Twitter.
Yeah.
We're not on like an actual each platform right now. Although we are on Rumble when we are on locals, so we have some options. And then I'll put
Little
some on
buffer.
the podcast.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. Only on Rumble and Twitter.
My message changes cross-platform.
Yeah.
So do you guys think they're gonna? You think they do this? You think they try this again with someone else? Maybe Vivek. Why not?
I'd like to see Vivek speak.
Yeah, I would love for everybody to do this. I want Joe Biden to do it.
Oh my gosh.
That would be hilarious.
I don't have enough popcorn and whiskey for that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't drink right now, so I probably couldn't watch, but I think that would be great. I think that would be really good for the public discourse. I personally love the idea of actual transparency for everyone in charge at every level. I mean, people who work in the deep state, they should probably get an interview with like a jury of their, or an interview panel of their peers, right? They should get community noted on anything they say by a group of people who, aren't biased one way or the other. That would be a great, I think that would be a good way to reform the deep state. That's never going to happen, ever.
No, unfortunately not. If you look at like federal workers, how they grade themselves and how they get graded on like annual performance reviews, it is like the percent that's above average is like I think almost 100%. Like no one is getting rated subpar, and they're all subpar.
Oh, I'm so happy for them all being above average. Good for us. We have the best people on the job. Yeah, I was talking to Inez Stepan the other day, and she was saying that they had to actually pass some kind of legislation to be able to fire these employees who are watching adult materials, right, on the clock. And I was like, can you
government employees?
Yes.
Oh my God.
In New York City, because the teachers unions, it was like you couldn't fire them, so they would pay them to just sit in a room all day and just surf the web.
Yep.
They would it was like where we can't have you in front of kids, but we also can't get rid of you, so we'll still pay you, and you still have to come here, but we won't let you do anything. It was just an absurd situation. It's still going on today, obviously.
Yeah, well, that is how our government rolls, which is exciting. Good to know that other institutions are copying that.
VP picks. Who do you think DeSantis will pick up with? Because I know Trump's probably got a handful of people. But I don't know who DeSantis would go after and who would stick with him.
That's a really good question.
I bet a lot of people would stick with him because the media was talking a while ago about how hard it was to get people who would freaking leak about the DeSantis campaign because nobody hates Ron DeSantis, right? They just don't. Whereas with the Trump White House, it was like a ship that was about to sink.
Oh, it's a sieve.
Everybody wanted to tell their story, right? So I think it would be pretty easy for him to pick up maybe even like a no-name former mayor or something. The mayor of Miami, I think it was the mayor of Miami. I don't remember his name. I just saw it in passing. He was talking about maybe being a VP pick, and I don't even remember who he said it would be with, but I think it might have been DeSantis. So,
okay, wild suggestion: Kanye.
Ooh.
That is a little too spicy. Maybe Trump. Maybe.
If he picks Trump, Kanye. Well, apparently Kanye's going to be running, so I mean.
He ran last time too.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's kind of his pastime at this point.
Yeah.
Matt, who do you think DeSantis would pick for a VP if he could?
It's tough. Like I think for Trump, I feel like he might be eyeing Tim Scott only.
That's what I was thinking.
Because I think it was what Tim Scott or Trump endorsed Scott's race, like in his race, So when Scott ran against Trump, obviously you'd expect like a more like kind of "why did you betray me" kind of response from Trump, but you didn't get that. So I
Not
think
at all.
he doesn't view
Yeah.
it as a threat, or as kind of seeing down the line he'll convert it into a VP thing. For DeSantis, imagine if he picked Mike Pence.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know what's funny about Mike Pence? I was thinking
I'm
just
not,
today.
I'm not suggesting this, by the way, but go ahead.
Mike
thanks.
Pence. Don't put that into the air. We don't need that bad juju. Mike Pence, Donald Trump, and Hillary Clinton are on the same page defending Disney against Ron DeSantis. And I was like, what kind of parallel universe is this? This is absolutely nuts. This is nothing I expected. Absolutely insane. I was like, what? How did we get here? Maybe we should stop attacking DeSantis from the left, which is exactly what
Right.
Trump's been spending $15.3 million doing. We'll see what happens.
Do you think Tulsi would do it?
With who? DeSantis or with Trump?
Yeah, with DeSantis.
That would be cool.
That would
That
be,
would be
that'd be,
cool.
yeah.
I like her, but I completely disagree with her on a bunch of things. So
Well,
Yeah.
she's good on like the 3 issues she goes on Fox News and talks about.
right.
Yeah.
But we're kind of missing like literally everything else.
Gun control,
Yeah, abortion,
stuff,
Medicare
really
for all,
important
everything.
stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, Trump
Yeah,
was
I
awful
like
on gun control, banning
He
bump
is.
stocks.
He is a
He's
bump stock
uh-huh.
ban.
Yeah.
Yeah, forget, due process. Take the guns first and worry about
So-
that later.
Yeah. At least nothing
Man.
happened though federally with the red flag stuff. At least.
Yeah, I guess. But
So I know this is anecdotal, but the Disney thing, we were at Universal. We live all the time. We were there this last weekend, and I like talking to people. So I'm talking to families. So many of them have just quit Disney outright. They're like, yeah, we're Universal. Other season passes, and it's been a really good thing what's happened, what it's doing.
that's right. And you guys know the hold on, I'll let you speak in just a minute, Matt. I have to squeeze this thought out before I forget it. The Disney thing where they were saying that DeSantis actions had cost the state like $1 billion just recently. They were planning to scrap that since November of last year. Okay,
Yes.
they're in the tubes. They are not doing well. Like, this fight with DeSantis could not have come at a worse time for them. So to me, it's particularly amusing to watch literally our GOP candidate defending them. But
Well, actually, to your point, I mean, if you look at Disney's stock the past 2 years, it's lost the equivalent of like tens of billions of dollars in value, and they've been laying off people for the past at least 5 months.
Yeah.
So to say that after all that happened, that this not expansion in Florida is due to DeSantis, as opposed to the company that just lost half its value in 2 years, like, no, it has nothing to do with it at all. So,
Yeah.
and then I think I forgot my other point, but obviously this one was better.
yeah, that's a strong one for sure. Well, it's a good point, and that's the case the media was trying to make because they're going after DeSantis with all they have. I was listening to them talk about Casey DeSantis, who recently survived cancer, mother of 3, supporter of her husband through everything. She's probably half the reason behind his success. And they're just like, people close to him think she has too much power. So I pulled up what the mainstream media thinks of people like Giselle Fetterman and Jill Biden. And they said they are the secret weapon behind their husbands.
That's a
Jill
good
was the
thing.
one.
Like,
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's different with a D, in parentheses, because it's them doing it. After DeSantis on every level, but I feel like he might actually be the one politician who does not have any skeletons in his closet.
Yeah.
I mean, any.
You notice that in how dumb the criticism so far is.
Pudding.
Like most of the stuff on like transgender issues or the so-called book burnings, it's literally all made up stuff.
Right.
Even Trump stuff, the meatball stuff, or I mean the Tiny D nickname is, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty funny. But besides
Ooh, the
that,
pudding.
it's
Yeah,
it's
the
not
pudding.
his work. I don't know. There's just nothing that really stands out. I mean, the only
Yeah.
criticism you can make is, I guess Florida technically did lock down at first, but it barely lasted any time at all.
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
Really,
Yeah.
There's really nothing that I can
Well-
think of, and I don't know, even of the Trump people I see, of which basically I am, but people on my side attacking DeSantis, I don't see any substance yet. I don't see any
Yeah.
reason to see. I don't know. I don't get it.
I want to see the counter argument to DeSantis, right? Thus far, I'm just watching what he's doing, and he's doing literally everything that I would like to see a right-wing politician do? Like, I've been banging my head against the wall for years saying, why doesn't the GOP do something? We finally get a guy who does stuff at the state level, and we're like, no, I think we're going to go with a guy who wanted to take our bump stocks and is really backtracking on abortion. I keep saying I can't vote for a candidate who's not pro-life. And in my defense, I've never voted for a candidate who's won. Like, I voted for Trump in 2020. I voted for Gary Johnson before that because I just didn't know what was going to happen with Trump. And I'm just like, I just really don't think my input on this count matters. But yeah, man, I can't do it. And I wonder how many other people feel the same, because my timeline is full of people who feel the same as I do. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's great. But again, I still think there's just that popularity factor. Like, at the end of the day, like, the presidential campaign is a popularity contest, like, and who is going to be the person that brings in the numbers? Again, like, if we look at the small, and who knows, maybe DeSantis rallies, and I'm totally wrong, but like, Trump just has that brand that he's had forever and ever. And, if he wants to go after, it's going to be hard to tell him not to.
I feel like that's such a strength and a weakness,
Yeah.
right? Because no one in the U.S. at this point doesn't have an opinion on Trump.
Yeah.
And they probably feel pretty unshakably that
That's
way.
a good point.
Oh, yeah. No one's changing their opinion on Trump at this
Right.
point.
Who would? Like, I don't know a single person who's like, oh, I don't know about this Trump guy.
Right.
We've had him for 4 years, okay? And you can't really make that case. But
Yeah.
who knows? He could pull it out. He is charismatic. He's popular. He's got the numbers. He's funny. Like I said, though, I'm not convinced this economy is very unfunny. All of these social issues also very unfunny. But
Yeah.
who
And
knows?
I think DeSantis, I think he can. I think he didn't in that Twitter space, but he can go harder against Trump on the COVID stuff. Like, he was 100% in the right. And like, there's a ton of people that were Trump supporters that were like, hey, why are we shutting down the economy? This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And, they shut down the country and put everyone on welfare. Like, just imagine if Trump would have just said no. Like,
just fired Fauci.
Yeah, and just kept it open.
I remember, like, the third week in, I was like, oh, no, we've all been fooled again.
Yeah. 21 days to realize we've been tricked.
Day 16, I'm like, all right,
let's
we're
go.
Back, right?
We're
cool.
back.
Right?
Yeah, but consider if it was real, though. No want the weight of all that death on his shoulders either.
Right.
So his hands were kind of binded by leaving it up to the governors to run their states. And again, Fauci should have been the person in charge, and he's going to have to answer for a lot of those things. But as far as his policy, he kind of just Pontius Pilate, let the governors do what they're going to do, and we're going to kind of.
Oh, you know what would have been a great question is to ask him, like, what if this happens again? Like, are you going to shut down the gain of function research in China? And, what if something like this happens again? Because if the economy is strong, Trump wins. Like that. It was the fact that everything shut down. Everyone was, unemployed.
It was assumed.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, what do we do with China if that happens again? And should we be working out of Wuhan like that? Obviously not. But
what do you think, Matt?
How do you shut that down?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Like on what? On COVID in general, or like what we should have done,
or just like any of the.
Yeah. What do you think about? Just how do you think DeSantis would handle a similar situation to what Trump faced in 2020?
Well, it is. I mean, we obviously have the benefit of hindsight now, and
yeah.
I mean, everyone sort of went through the same arc of, like, even if you go back to the first 2 weeks of COVID, there was this brief era where like only Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon were warning against it, and the right was kind of ahead of the curve, and we all started out at some point with the hysteria, and then we only differed in when did we wake up. And like, you have the progressives after 3 years who are now like, I guess we shouldn't have closed schools and the mask didn't work, but oh well. And with, so every Republican who claims they didn't lock down did lock down, but with DeSantis, it was pretty quickly. He kind of wised up and realized, oh, this isn't what it was advertised. And now we have the benefit of hindsight. And it seems like, I mean, what really made a big difference nationally is what's the obesity rate in the country and what percent is elderly. And those are the two main variables. And I mean, yes, we shouldn't have, don't go to a gathering with 1,000 people in a pandemic. But besides that, most of the regulations were pretty useless.
Wasn't Daniel Ulfelder that lawyer who dressed up as the Grim Reaper and went to the beach? He
Griff
was there in
Reaper?
April 2020, right?
And he was on the beaches.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
like, people are going to die because Florida's open again.
Yeah.
So already by April 2020, they were back to, when did we lock down initially? It was March, right?
Yeah. And then
I
he was at a
thought,
Black
yeah.
Lives Matter rally with like tens of thousands of people like a month later.
Such a hypocrite. Such a hypocrite. I just use him as like a time marker.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so how long did it take for people to be throwing hissy fits about the fact that Florida was open again? 1 month.
Oh, thanks for
1
getting
month.
the book on the screen.
What's that?
Yeah, thanks for getting the book on the screen. I got my advanced copies the other day.
Yeah. Oh, sweet. Awesome.
fantastic.
You have the copy.
And I got
Cool. And that's coming out in July.
the vintage Soros book, but yes, July
Oh.
for this one.
Very cool. And of
I'll order a
course,
copy for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
Fucking
lot of
working.
work, and I don't.
Yeah.
I
I don't
wanna
envy
write
you.
another book, to be honest.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got to put my kids to bed, but thanks for having
Bye,
me.
Adam. Thank you for
Bye,
joining
bye.
us. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, man.
My girlfriend says thank you for your service with the lectern.
The lectern. That's right. Lectern man from the Capitol.
I was texting her. She was like, "Tell him thank you for your service, King." And I'm like, "All right, I'll get it in."
Oh, thanks, Matt. I
love
appreciate it. Thanks for all you do too,
love
man.
it. Thanks,
course.
Adam. Peace out.
All right,
All
take
right,
it easy,
I
guys.
I'm gonna let Matt and Sean go as well because we're a little bit over. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and thank you especially for staying the whole time. That was fantastic. I expected
show.
people to pop in, pop out. Very fun. Great to chat. Always love
Yeah.
talking with you guys. And you're of course welcome back anytime. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Everybody go check out Matt's book. Everybody go check out minds.com.
Get on
Minds
Minds.
Informed. That's right. Get on Minds.
Send to
And-
Super Minds. I don't know if you know that feature, Lydia. It's really
I
cool.
do.
It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like super chat, but it's like not on stream. So yeah,
Yeah,
get on
very
Minds. And,
cool.
thanks
Cool
for
stuff.
having me on. It was really fun.
Yeah, man, great. Happy to have you. All right, I'll let you guys go. I'm going to end the
right.
studio here. Good conversation with Ron DeSantis. Great chat about the future. Hopefully it's positive. We'll see what happens. All right. Bye,
Have a good night, guys.
See you
Bye.
next time.